The mystery that shocked the world. Have you ever stayed awake so long that your body started asking for rest? Perhaps during a test at work, or taking care of someone at night. Now, imagine to stay awake not for one night, nor for 1 week, but for a whole 40 years. Yes, 40 years without sleep. It seems impossible, right? But this is one of the most mysterious and inspiring stories that has ever existed. She talks about faith, sacrifice, and a human strength that defies everything we know. Many centuries ago, when the world was still full of mysteries, there was a man who believed that praying was more important than sleeping. While people rested, he stayed awake speaking to God in silence, night after night, year after year. His name was Simeon, and he became known as the saint who didn't sleep for 40 years. But how was that possible? How can anyone live without resting, without lying down, without closing their eyes? Were they miracles, or simply a willpower that surpasses human limits? This story is so impressive that, even today, historians, religious figures, and even scientists are trying to understand, how did he manage? But the most incredible thing is not just what Simeon did with the body. That's what he did it with faith. He believed that love for God could be demonstrated through resistance, of total surrender, and a vigilance that lasted a lifetime. And the result of that was something that marked the world forever. If these stories touched you, leave your comment, like with subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. Here, with each video, you'll discover incredible stories of faith, mystery, and miracles. The life of Saint Simeon. Our story now travels through time, more than 1,600 years ago, in a region called Syria, where the sun rises brightly and the desert seems endless. It was there, around the year 390 AD, that a boy was born named Simeon, someone who would completely change the way the world understood faith. From a young age, Simeon was different. While other children ran, played, or slept soundly after a tiring day, Simeon remained silent, gazing at the horizon and asking questions that no one knew the answer to. Why did God create us? How can I please him more? These were questions that filled his heart, even though he was just a boy. When I was about 13 years, Simeon decided to follow a courageous path, entered a monastery, a place where monks lived in prayer, fasting, and silence. There, he learned that faith wasn't just about talking about God, to live with your whole heart and body dedicated to him. But as time went on, Simeon began to feel that he could still do more. While the other monks slept, he continued praying. While they rested, he remained kneeling, silently conversing with the sky. And that's when everything started to change. Simeon began to live more and more intensely. He fasted for long periods, slept little, and sometimes went entire days without speaking to anyone. People around him started to think he was too different. Some monks thought he was going too far, but Simeon believed that true faith demands sacrifice. One day, he made a decision that would change his life forever. He left the monastery and went to live in the desert. There, without comfort, without a bed, without distractions, he decided to dedicate himself entirely to prayer. During the day, he prayed. During the night, he also prayed. And it was there, in the silence of the desert, that the man whom the world would call was born, Saint Simeon the Stylite. From that moment on, Simeon no longer wanted just to pray. He wanted to live forever awake before God. And that choice would mark the beginning of an amazing journey, life atop a pillar, and the struggle to stay awake for 40 years. If these stories touched you, leave your comment, would subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. Here, with each video, you'll discover incredible stories of faith, mystery, and miracles. The pillar and life at height. After years of living in prayer in the desert, Simeon realized that the world was still searching for him. People came to him seeking blessings, healing, and advice. But Simeon wanted to be even closer to heaven, literally. He wanted to escape the distractions of the earth and draw closer to the divine. And that's how he had an idea, so unusual that nobody believed it at first. Simeon ordered it to be built stone pillar. At first, it was small, just a few meters. But over time, he grew taller and taller, until reaching over 15 meters tall. And do you know what he did next? He climbed to the top, and he never went down again. That's right. Simeon spent the rest of his life living on top of a pillar. Up there, he ate little, slept almost not at all, and spent his days praying. When the sun was blazing, he stood firm. When the cold of night arrived, he remained motionless. The wind was blowing hard, the rain was falling. But Simeon didn't complain. It simply said, "Up here, I'm closer to God." People started calling him the Stylite, a word that comes from Greek pens, which means column, i.e. Simeon, the man with the pillar. Everyone wanted to see him. Some came from very distant places, traveling for days, just to hear a word from him or receive a prayer. He didn't come down, but talked to the people up there, giving advice and preaching messages of faith, hope, and forgiveness. The nights were long and cold, but for Simeon, every waking minute was a conversation with heaven. He believed that sleeping would be wasting precious time that could be used to pray and intercede for the world. And so, between heaven and earth, that simple man became a living bridge between the human and the divine. Simeon's pillar became a symbol of faith and resilience. Some said he was crazy, others said he was a saint. But everyone, without exception, felt something different when they looked at him. The certainty that they were facing a faith that transcended human limitations. If these stories touched you, leave your comment, like, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. Here, with each video, you'll discover incredible stories of faith, mystery, and miracles. 40 years without sleep, miracle or mystery. Imagine the silence of the desert at night. No sound, no movement, only the wind and the beating of one's own heart. Now imagine going 3 years like this. Awake, the body is tired, the eyes are burning, but the spirit is firm. That was the routine of Saint Simeon, the man who decided he'll never sleep again. For 40 years, he lived atop a pillar, without lying down, without resting, without surrendering to sleep. People who saw it said it was impossible, only a miracle could keep someone awake for that long. But Simeon believed in something greater. He said that sleep was to distance oneself from the presence of God, and that time spent sleeping was time lost in prayer. While men sleep, he said, I remain awake in the name of all. But did he really never sleep? Some scholars believe that, at times, Simeon's body would enter such a short and deep state of rest that he wouldn't even notice. What we call today microsono, brief moments when the brain switches off, even with the eyes open. But the people of that time did not see it that way. For them, Simeon was a living miracle, a man who had conquered his own body, a warrior of faith, who defied human limitations to remain in prayer. Pilgrims said that when they looked at him, they felt peace. The mere fact of seeing him awake inspired them to pray more, to believe more. Some claimed that miracles happened there. The sick were healed, desperate people found solace, and hardened hearts opened up to forgiveness. For many, Simeon was a living sign that faith could move even the impossible. Day after day, year after year, decades have passed. Simeon grew old, but his faith did not diminish. His body was weakening, but his mind remained sharp, agreed upon in the name of all who believed that the impossible could be real. And perhaps the real mystery lies not in knowing whether he slept or not, but in understanding the power of faith that kept him standing for 40 years. A faith so profound that it transformed sleep into prayer, weariness in devotion, and the silence of the desert in an eternal dialogue with God. If these stories touched you, leave your comment, like, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. Here, with each video, you'll discover incredible stories of faith, mystery, and miracles. The legacy and the lesson of faith after 40 years of prayer and vigil. Saint Simeon departed in peace. Around the year 459 AD, when the people learned that he had died, thousands went to the pillar where he had lived. Men, women, and children were crying not from sadness, but of admiration for everything he had done. In his honor, a large basilica was built, which became one of the most sacred places in ancient Syria. Even today, ruins of this temple can still be visited, a silent monument that preserves the memory of a man who believed that love for God could conquer even sleep. But Simeon's true legacy goes far beyond stones and ancient stories. He left us a message that transcends time. Faith is the strength that keeps us standing, even when our bodies want to rest. Simeon teaches us that devotion is not about never sleeping, but in never give up. It's about staying strong, even when everything seems difficult. It's about waking up every day with purpose, with faith, and with the desire to do good. You don't need to stand on a pillar. You don't need to be awake for 40 years. But it can, in its own way, do something extraordinary. Awaken your heart to what truly matters. Because sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't overcoming sleep. It is wake up to life for love, for faith. Simeon showed the world that faith can move mountains, or, in this case, to keep a man awake for 40 years. And now I ask you, what keeps you awake through faith, hope, or your dreams? Tell us in the comments. And if this story inspired you, leave your comment, like, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. Tinker Bell to continue discovering incredible stories of faith, courage, and mystery.